It is the week before CitizenCon, and the only ways we've gotten updates on features this year has been through monthly reports. It is known. Inside Star Citizen has not been giving us too much, so there's quite a bit to be filled in by us, and I've got a video actually on the main channel talk about that if you want to go check it out. But today, we have the final monthly report to get through. The calm before the storm, you could call it. The September monthly report with some updates on gameplay, new ships, features, locations, narrative, and just kind of stuff going into CitizenCon that maybe could give us a little bit of insight into what's quite far along at this point. Just some reminders. It'll also, tell us what's going on with core gameplay and maybe some looks at the end, towards the end of the year updates. Overall, this is your best way to know truly what's going on in Star Citizen, and while it's not all the details, as we do have a salvage update that's being tested right now that hasn't been mentioned, it should give you enough. As always, this is going to be like the monthly report main stuff, and then we're going to come back around and we're going to go over the ships separately along with our ship tracking sheet, which I'm going to go ahead and make available for you guys to check out, I think, after this one. Well, maybe I'll put the link down below or something, but that'll be a different video if you're watching this after the fact. If you're in this stream, just got to wait until the last part, and then we'll do that. Let's get into it. Let's talk about space nerd stuff. Woohoo! Starting with the most exciting part of the report, AI content. AI content team continued to test updates to some of the landing zone NPCs, looping in the QA team to help stress test the setup to ensure it can take the strain of extensive use and trigger any potential issues. To make stations and cities feel more alive, the team leveraged the med station behavior used during the regen crisis. Now, shopkeepers will interact more with the people frequenting their store. The team is also looking at an underutilized aspect of landing zone archetypes and are preparing a proposal to make better use of guards. Don't tease me with a good time, CIG. Bro, if this is our first little whisperings of the AI team actually getting security guards working in cities, I will look back at this moment in pure anticipation. That's going to be great. That's a really big deal, guys. I don't know if CIG is going to stick to their original vision of having cities be open to interaction between players and having the armistice be insured by security. But if they're even going to lean in that direction, it would be a very nice thing to see in the game. So hopefully this is pointing towards that. I'm glad that we're getting more and more AI interaction and the game is starting to feel more alive. They finish up the section by saying, in addition to the ongoing task of setting up comms calls characters for missions, the devs also started looking at mission providers in general and built a new behavior to support face-to-face interactions in the future. Let's go! Dude, I was halfway through this sentence thinking to myself, well, I'm going to get into a little diatribe here about how annoying it is that we don't really get in-person mission givers anymore. And then they finished it off by saying they're working on it. Yeah! That's good. That's solid. The in-person mission givers is that's been a painful loss since 3.5, maybe? Check this out. This is actually quite wild. They stopped doing in-person mission givers back when they realized the game was too broken to support it. But then when they got the game back to a situation where it was not too broken to support it, they started doing call-in mission givers like we have now. So you can see back in 3.5, Clovis Darneely. 3.4, Constantine Hurston. 3.4, Wallace Klim. 3.5, Tisha Pacheco. And then nothing. Nothing for years. Nothing at all. No mission givers. No new AI characters until finally in, 4.1? They dropped in Wicklow, which, we all know how people feel about that. But Wicklow is, I think, a template for just the shopkeeper, really, the archetype of the shopkeeper for different factions. And that will become its own thing. But in-person interactions with NPCs has been gone for a long time, so this is really good to see them working back into. AI features. Updated numerous features last month, beginning with AI weapon component, which will now remain in sync with weapon statuses, allowing them to work better in unison. Support was then added for NPCs to systematically target vehicles in combat. Improvements were made for the rocketeer behavior, allowing NPCs to switch between using a rocket launcher and pistol, depending on the situation. Adjustments to the visuals of various behaviors were made, improving cover usage and fixing multiple asserts. I like to hear that NPCs are getting better at combat. That's good. The interesting thing about Star Citizen is going to be when we start to actually get mixed arms. It's still so segmented right now. You're either going in for ship combat, you're going in for FPS combat, and that's about it. You don't even really go in for vehicle combat yet, right? It's going to be cool when you can take on a mission, and that mission might end up having segments where you're fighting people both in ships, in vehicles, on the ground, and possibly needing to transition in between in the middle of fights. But right now, the game is still super segmented in the different areas it is. So NPCs getting better at combat hopefully means we're moving more towards that dynamic. Default behaviors were then introduced to the Buddy AI. Allowing NPCs to follow their leader and stay in close proximity during combat. Hello! This is why I do think that it was... When was it? When? There was a video recently when somebody said something about crew. AI crew. And people were like, oh, they said AI crew. Why are they talking about that? That's not until after 1.0. It's not going to be on your ships. I think this might be the kind of stuff they're talking about, which is like, we might get to the point where AI actually can still join us for missions and stuff. Whether it's for bespoke contracts where you have somebody specifically with you that's following you for that mission, or whether it's a systemic sort of thing where you can hire someone to be on your team. I don't know. More likely the former. But this does point at the possibility. And if you look at, there was like one little video clip that they showed a while back. I'm not going to be able to find it here, but they talked about like a buddy sort of companion. Back when they used to talk about working on the navigation mesh, when they were first working on it. Veterans in the chat remember that. Holy crap. Back when NPCs couldn't even set foot on the planet's surface. All right, TPS, covers along path, was defined based on feedback. Toilet paper situations, covers along path. Okay, sure. While ammo looting updates are underway too. This will affect holstering and stowing primary weapons and prevent NPCs from switching to their pistols when looting if they still have primary weapon ammo. So they're getting more and more focused on like the details of FPS combat on the NPC side. It used to just be more about their ability to detect stuff. But now it's getting more into the specifics of how they act, how they interact with the same systems that players do, which is important because NPCs are supposed to do mostly the same stuff players do in this game. I think at some point, though, I'm going to host a stream where we go back over every AI section in every monthly report. Because there are just years of this kind of stuff being worked on with AI, and I'm just like, what is that? Was that all still relevant? Is this stuff going over that? Is it treading over that old work? Is it renewal? What is it? I need to get some more context there. So I think at some point, I'm just going to strip the AI features sections from every monthly report, and we'll go through it all together in one stream. Last thing they had on AI features, in addition, new functionality was added for testing first reactions by generating test cell level variants, making rapid iteration and testing easier for each situation. This includes testing for first reactions and animation flows. Lots of tests, huh? All right, AI tech. Are y'all ready? September saw AI tech improve NPCs using elevators. Get out of town, dude. The NPCs got elevator functionality. Let's go. They're already beating us. By simplifying the setup for the carriage transit. Focus is currently on 3D navigation and NPCs flying ships. That's good to hear. We need NPCs flying ships. Thank you. The team continued to improve the flight path finder system and 3D collision avoidance using the newer voxel grid approach for custom environments. The focus is to unify the process flow with the one used for ground requests and preemptive adaptation of the pathfinder structure. This will deal with the paths generated if a spatial voxel grid is present. Here's a present. This also includes the introduction of distinct parallel jobs for search and refinement and how the flight path is constructed. Additionally, hard turns have been introduced alongside allowing ships to get nose on target more quickly. Yeah, this is solid AI development this month. Development was done on AI perception code, with the team fixing issues with knowledge escalation when seeing enemies between the primary and secondary fields of view. I have that problem all the time. Makes it terrible for walking around city streets, you know? Improvements were then made to the way assignments are queued in relation to the usable builder tool. Crashes during general use were also fixed, such as when changing alignment slots and expanding the line pop-up edit for geom and helper geom editing. Updates were made to the AI sequence system, which manages AI agent scripting in the flow graph. This enforces the validation of action sequences and ensures the correct execution context is set in the systemic activities, providing a more reliable way to manually script agents and to guarantee actions are validated and executed correctly. Some of the stuff that I read in this, I'm just like, some people, you might be getting this, keeping up with it as I read it. Sometimes it's just, I'm just putting words out there into the world. I don't know what the hell this means. Where was I? The critical flow mode for AI agents was brushed up too. You can't even say stuff like this. They need to watch their vernacular, because some people are going to read this and think that they're trying to open AI this stuff. While in this mode, action execution errors are still reported, but can now be handled with specific fallback, allowing the flow to proceed instead of failing and potentially stalling. This is still in progress and will be further enhanced going forward. Star script improvements are still being made as the team improve the tool following feedback from the devs. Finally, subsumption content data improvements were made to reduce errors going forward. We all know star script, subsumption, you know how it is. It used to be a regular for us, one of the MVPs of monthly reports. I don't pull it up as much, but I will this time, man. I get so much less footage to use now. Like, I haven't seen anything for subsumption that we could use for footage in years. This is 2023. It's kind of crazy, actually, how we used to cut footage every single week to go into our archives for these videos that I work on. Now we maybe touch on it once or twice a month. It's a bummer. But this is the subsumption system, and as you can see, it is basically just a flow graph that allows for actions to be taken by NPCs based upon other actions. A graphical if-then loop, if you will, with a whole bunch of other stuff in it that's probably much more complicated than if-then. It's getting feedback from devs because this is a tool that the devs are making for the devs, you know? So if you work for Apple, then you probably use Apple's coding language. But somebody has to make Apple's coding language. So there are developers that make software for the company. A lot of times this is outsourced. For instance, a lot of companies will use somebody like Salesforce or SAP to do their sales-focused integrations with other people. Forget what they call it, P2P or whatever. But CIG has a lot of stuff in-house. They built their own engine. They're building their own tools. They want to have the knowledge and the resources to do it themselves. So they have devs building these tools for other devs so that their engine gets stronger. And the fact that they get feedback and they're passing the tools back and forth and they're improving them, that's really good. That's very healthy for this game going forward. AI, Game Intelligence Development Team. This is like R&D, but for their AI gameplay stuff. In September, the Game Intelligence Development Team focused on completing the next milestones for Mission System Tier 2.0. They're currently breaking down the work and discussing the best possible path forward to approach the implementation. I am very, very hopeful. Crossing my fingers like they were a freaking pretzel. I am so hopeful that Mission System T2 ends up on the at CitizenCon. This would be such a huge breath of confidence, I think. If the Mission System Tier 2 has the same amount of detail and actual thought put into it as the inventory that they're currently working on. I know a lot of people don't like it, but compared to what we've had before, it's showing a lot of advancement in their UI design. If it has that same level of improvement here, I think that this is going to give a lot of people more confidence about just the overall flow of Star Citizen if the contract manager is working better than it is now. No filters, no links into the star map, no ability to like select things on the map, no real clear showing of objectives. It's not well packaged when you're trying to take a contract. So I think this is actually much more important than it seems just kind of reading it off here. And I'm hoping, as it's been mentioned a lot in these monthly reports, I hope this is something that shows up at SitCon. They also continued to fix bugs and performance issues and worked on features suggested by the designers to improve Starscript Coolio. Good for y'all. Animation. The team continued to work on an upcoming creature and boss fight alongside supporting a new mission giver. Ho-ho! Hey! I like all three of those things. Facial animation progressed through new performances that were captured in late August. These include characters that will be present in multiple upcoming releases, including a returning air traffic control voice. Dude, there's so much going on AI-wise. This is actually a surprise. It's a surprise how nice it is to see how much stuff is happening on the AI front. We'll have to see how quickly it gets introduced, but things like characters and multiple upcoming releases and stuff like that usually indicates the next couple patches. Going off of the monthly reports again, you got to recalibrate yourself every year kind of based on how they message with these things, but monthly reports this year have also, much like Inside Star Citizen, been very focused on the next couple patches when it comes to things like narrative, animations, character art, ship art, that kind of stuff. Maybe not necessarily core gameplay, because we're not getting a lot of feature stuff, but the stuff that's content related, it has been pretty short term. So new air traffic control voice is nice. Hopefully that means that they have something to say about the new air traffic control system working. New characters coming in is good. That could support the new mission giver, new creature, and new performance captures. All nice, making the verse feel more alive. Art on the character side. The character art team finalized both new armors and a new gang. Not bad. Work also continued on polishing the Yormandi. Another mention of this creature. This thing's definitely due in the next couple months. The concept art team continued iterating on new armors. Okay. I wonder where they are. You want to see what kind of armor they were concepting like years ago? Because it's really hard to know. Obviously, like I said, a lot of their content delivery has been more focused on what's coming in the immediate future. So if you look at this Dress to Kill demonstration, a lot of these things have been released since this came out. This is CitizenCon too. So the racing, the flight suit, some of the combat stuff, the tracker. Y'all will recognize the Geist armor. A lot of this stuff did come out in the last year. So yes, they are focusing on the short term when it comes to armors, but at the same time...
Also in concept are these heavy armors from the planet Terra, center of the UEE and the planet that humanity chose. Now, as with all concepts, these may or may not be chosen to be taken into implementation, but as we've explored before, that's life in the continuously iterative world of concept work, and you can bet we'll check in again if any of these designs move forward.
So that's 2020, which admittedly is a time when they were much more interesting and looking far and far ahead, but they do have Terra armor concepted. So they could be working on concepting any armor, from new stuff for Pyro to some new faction to stuff we'd find in Nyx, Castra, or Terra. I just wouldn't put any of it past them. So no way to really specify what this could be, but I'm sure we'll see something about it in the shorter term. Skipping the ship section, because that's what we do. We'll come back to that, don't worry. We will hit that up in full detail after the full report. Core gameplay. This is usually the best part of the update, but it looks pretty small this month, so we'll see what it is. As part of ongoing medical gameplay improvements, the team provided support for bespoke take and place animations, and reworked the implementation of players clearing their respawn point in vehicles. Bug fixes were implemented for the medical screen, along with improved validation to make it easier to spot errors. Tiered medical bed spawn ranges were re-implemented for more robust compatibility with server meshing. Additionally, new controls were exposed to the designers that allow them to control healing cost per medical bed tier, while additional data was exposed to the UI designers to add new information to the medical screen. Two big chunks of this update taken up by medical gameplay stuff. Not the most exciting, since we already know all about it, but okay. I understand. You guys did a lot of work on that last month. For engineering, the team continued iterating on playtest feedback and hardening the feature ahead of wider scale testing. Guys, folks, friends, motherfucking space nerds. At this point, I'm not saying that everything in the monthly report is everything that's going on, but they're not reporting any changes in engineering anymore. Can we just go back to August and July real quick and see what they were saying about it then? Because I don't think this is the first month like that. So in August, their update was the engineering screen was then updated to show the rate of heat change for components and fixed various bugs, bug fixing, and rate of heat change details. I don't think there was anything else besides that in here. And then going back to July, core gameplay, engineering, it entered the tech preview preparation. Right, they also added the ability to limit the number of active pools, limit items per pool, thruster temperatures are now visible on the screen, and iconography between diagnostics and engineerings have been unified. Yeah, dude, fixing bugs, unifying the UI, preparing it for the tech preview. Engineering is, yeah, I agree with you, Lou. Engineering is basically in holding. We're right there, man. This is definitely going to be a big part of CitizenCon. I stand by it. I think we're going to get some kind of a gameplay showcase at CitizenCon, whether it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes. I think they're going to show us gameplay in the game as it's meant to be sometime in the next year. And engineering is for sure going to be a focus there, because this stuff is getting pretty close. The vehicle command module feature continued through its pre-production phase, with the devs completing the prototype and technical design. Additional debug tooling revealed various issues with the underlying docking system. I could have told you guys about that. Hey, where's my little, yeah. All right. Allowing for more flexibility in cockpit design. The team also prepared for focus testing of the improved flight model. Wait, I'm sorry, I just skipped ahead. That was prompting an effort to fix critical flow issues. Sorry. Yeah, the docking is going to need a little bit of help, but honestly, the command module feature is such a weird, incredibly niche, seemingly unnecessary addition to this game, so I'm really wondering how it's going to fit in. I can see how it's cool. It'd be sick to have your ironclad be rendered inoperable and crash land in my command module down on a planet and build a base from there or something. It'd be cool to be able to leave my ship in space and fly down to the surface real quick or fly over to somewhere else. It just, like I said, it feels super, super niche. But I guess it probably is somewhat related to the ship-to-ship docking technology, so it'll be useful for things like the Crucible and the Endeavor, probably something else out there. Flight gameplay also progressed through September. AI can now correctly utilize control surfaces in atmosphere and adhere to their velocity goals. Annunciators are no longer required to be attached to the dashboard to be functional, allowing for more flexibility in cockpit design. That's interesting. Kind of funny that they were originally required to be attached to be operable. I think I have a picture or a video of an annunciator. Possibly. Maybe. I don't think so, actually. The annunciator is basically the thing that's on your ship that tells you all the different little messages. It lights up little messages that you need to know, like landing gear down and other things like that. Let's see if we've got the HUD. This thing right here. So you see how it is actually attached to your HUD? As they're mentioning in here, it no longer needs to be attached to the dashboard. So right here, you can see it is attached to the dashboard, but this will allow them to put it in other places. Over on the side, up here, attached to your butt, wherever you want it. It's interesting that it was a requirement. Maybe they had the piping system with power already working, so they had to have it on the dashboard. I don't know. The team also prepared for focus testing for the improved flight model, which is currently going on, but has been a little bit rough. People are still leaking the focus testing. Like, guys, just let it happen. It's frustrating because we really if CIG's system is going to fail, at some point we kind of just need to let it fail. The whole idea that like, oh, they can't, this game will never live if they have PvP possible in different places. Okay, then let it die. This game's not going to work if they don't focus on X, Y, or Z. This flight model's not going to work if you don't do it this way or that. You guys, I feel like this is great, but people need to know, like, just let the system work. They really need to pay testers and bring them in-house to test. I would agree, but then we have to deal with like 4 more ship sales throughout the year. Like, we're at this problem point where that money's got to go somewhere, and they either slow down Squadron 42, which will slow down everything. They slow down the feature development, which already is pissing us off. They slow down the content drops, which, okay, that's the one thing they're doing well. Or they slow down their testing. Like, they don't have the money and they don't have the means, and they either get this done or they don't. And at the end of the day, that's up to them. That's their job. It's their job to make this happen. Nobody else's. But damn, if we couldn't just help a little bit by not leaking every single thing that happens. Let's continue with core gameplay. The ongoing inventory rework progressed with the implementation of equipment and equipped item slots. This one has also been very impressive to me. You can see that they were already working on changing it from concept to reality last month in August. I think they actually started it here in the July monthly report. It may have been mentioned first. So we may now be 2 to 3 months into working towards getting this inventory into the game. Faster than I thought it would, for sure. And definitely, maybe they'll show it sometime this year, possibly. If they don't show it at CitizenCon, I don't think we'll see it until it's just about to go into the game, but I thought it wasn't going to be in game until probably this time next year. Looking like it's going to be faster than that. Let's move on to the economy team. The economy team. Yeah. The economy team began a month exploring how to make the player's impact on freelancing commodity training more impactful and longer lasting. In the process, they adjusted offer and demand at some locations while tuning profits to fit the current level of the economy. The team then evaluated the data on the drop rates of some rare items and made them more prevalent. The cargo manifests found in spawn ships were also redesigned so their value doesn't undermine the intended gameplay for certain missions. Now we like that good loot. Give us the booty, CIG. And I don't mean the booty on the male models, which also do need a booty update. They're just not very nice to look at. I think all the booties in this game probably could use a little bit of an update. But no, I was talking about treasure. The other thing that the economy team actually did that is not in the monthly report for whatever reason is some balancing around salvage. They have changed reclaimer profits to support full crew payments for crew compensation. They have specified session-based versus delayed gratification through salvage, with small ships profiting immediately and larger ships requiring longer wait times. And they've specified volume versus efficiency and the trade-offs between processing speed and total yield. These are things that the economy team must have been involved with, right? They had to have some hand here in the economic balance of this salvage, yet it is nowhere in the monthly report. So you gotta diversify your choices. I'm over here saying the monthly reports are the best way to keep up with the game's freaking development, but no, it's gonna be the people who are summarizing every little thing that comes out of CIG in all the different places. Mission design began September, finalizing the last narrative mission for the ASD facilities before looking forward to the rest of the year's content. They also began removing old factions players will no longer work with and reorganizing the ones they will. Sad day. We knew it was going to happen. We knew that eventually we would start to see the faction list shrink because of reputation and stuff. Wow. Still sad to see it happen, but I'm happy for forward progress. I'm happy to be getting more and more into a game that is focusing on being the game it wants to be and not just a placeholder. Alongside this, the team reviewed bounty missions and added comms notifications for the mission provider. This is part of the ongoing initiative to bring older missions up to standard. We need more of that. Where are the racing missions? Racing? Mission design also worked alongside engineering to solve long-standing issues with spawn closets and made more fixes to the mission generation systems. I know this is not the engineering they're talking about, but I do hope that we see some contracts and missions that are meant to flex engineering. I know this is a long shot. This is definitely not coming right when engineering does. But imagine a set of contracts that require you to report to a specific space station, board a specific large-scale ship, and then just fly around in said ship being the engineer for that NPC flown ship. You know? Like they go into battle, they kind of just fly around in general, and you're just the person who has to take care of the problems that pop up in the meantime. Very hard to control situation. Obviously other players can attack the ship and all that kind of stuff, and you never really know what will happen. But I think that would be an amazing way to showcase and introduce people to engineering. And it gives you gameplay you can do without needing to be flying around having a ship. All right, narrative team. In September, the narrative team focused on tasks to help close out the rest of the year strongly. They focused on crafting scripts that will add additional dynamic conversations, a new Covalix mission representative, vendors, and customers to the game. And they spent time generating mission text and lore discoverables for several upcoming events, just making the game feel more alive. Narrative, I wonder if that Covalix mission representative is the mission giver mentioned in the animation section. Narrative then worked alongside with the environment, art, and branding teams on the signage and environmental storytelling for several incoming levels. Time was also spent planning narrative initiatives for the next year. This was an excellent opportunity to learn from the recent releases and continue to strengthen the player's narrative experiences across the game. I wonder how much of that they mean is like, we learned from the resource drive. So the resource drive was close to being a really good event. If that was attempt number 1 and they take what they learned from that and apply it to attempt number 2 next year with the better performance, better features, hopefully some UI updates and content drops, I'm very excited to see where this team goes. Last month, the Live Tools team, this is online technology, updated the error reporting pipeline, including moving panic migration from Heap to Laravel. I don't know what the heck that means. The Panic web app tool can now configure stream settings, removing dev time by allowing users to define the configuration of each stream themselves. The symbolizer was also rewritten to be event-driven, making it more stable and scalable. Progress was made on new web app to configure bootstrap settings, which will provide a more accessible display for its users. For Hex, implementation began for the audit log UI that will extend the system's filtering and sorting capabilities. Concepting for Hex 4.0 continued too. The online services team continued to work on item recovery and the blueprint service, alongside continued bug fixing and support. Sorry, that's one of those sections where I'm just going to read the words to you guys. All right, R&D. Wrapping things up here. In September, the R&D team's focus remained exclusively on analyzing performance and optimizing game engine and game code. Interesting. They are not very busy right now in the R&D level, or R&D area. All right, on the VFX side, in Alpha 4.2, they finished up their tasks for the ASD locations and final event work, while the RSI Apollo Triage and Medivac received their VFX passes. Production continued on the Yormandi and its related locations too. Oh. So it's spawning in specific locations. The Yormandi is definitely coming in the next couple patches. I know I've said it multiple times, but if there's anything to take from this monthly report, it is that this new Yormandi is definitely coming soon. It's hard not to confirm that. They keep talking about these ASD facilities and the missions that they're doing. Guys, finalizing the last narrative mission for the ASD facilities. Guys, this was August. Now, the update came out in August, but it came out late August. This very well might be talking about the final part that we just did, and the ASD storyline might actually be wrapped up for now. Perhaps they're going to touch back on it or kind of come back into it next year after they've fleshed out some more stuff around the game. But yeah, the narrative overall in ASD has been good. All right, last point here. VFX passes also began for vehicles coming later in the year alongside pre-production for upcoming locations and missions starting in the next week or so. It's good progress. To be honest, this was a solid monthly report. When I saw this core gameplay section, I was like, this is where all the good stuff is. But no, the AI section had a lot of great things to see. Narrative was kind of interesting. Economy was okay. But I think the AI section was a nice surprise of this month. Either way, that's it for all of the gameplay, features, and mechanic stuff. Let's get to ships.